Welcome to the Pink Room, a space for real talk by real women about the real issues of our day.
As minorities, we're not only your day laborers. We're not only the ones that clean your houses or your hotels, right? We are human beings that have capacity to be part of every area of this country.
Our strategy needs to be to get into these political offices.
Every election, every seat, every office.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And Teresa, if I would just like to say, I don't consider myself a minority. If the world wants to see us as minorities, because we are actually the majority, but if they want to see us as minorities, then call us the super minority.
There you go. Okay. Yeah.
People started to post some microaggressions that they were experiencing from their professors.
Wow.
And hearing so many perspectives, they're like, you have to do something. If I have the resource, I'll do well as well. I'll do well just as well as others do. Don't make things easier for me. I just want the resource. That's all. And I think that's the misconception, that they think that we want handouts. We don't want handouts. We just want what the others get. That's it. Give us what you give others, and we will do just as well.
Excellent. Ashley.
As long as you can ensure that one group of people in this country have access to good education,
right,
another group does not have access to adequate education, right, you basically guarantee that the group that has less access to good education, then remain the sickest people in our system. And so you have the conflation of several policies, or the absence of policies, that basically create and sustain the perfect storm in this country.
That's not where your affirmation is going to come from.
Right.
Humans fail us all the time. It is not in someone else. You can't find in someone else what you cannot find first within yourself. What entryways were there for someone else to come in and feed you false narratives? You have to build up those fortresses first. And when I say fortresses, I don't mean walls to block people out. I mean confident within yourself to know that you can look in the mirror and say to the mirror, Latoya, you're loved. I love you. I love you. You are beautiful.
Start your watch parties. Cast the pink rim on your HD TVs. Post your comments in the chat. This space is yours too.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Pink Room. We are so excited to be here with you again. I'm bringing on my co-hostesses, Dr. P and Shonda. How exciting it is to be once again on the Pink Room.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
So welcome. And we ask you to please start your watch party, share the link on YouTube or on Facebook, and just invite women in. The guests that we have today have some very important things to share with you. They're women in business. You see their pictures there. So we definitely have a lot that we can learn from all of them. So are we ready for a check-in?
Yeah.
Check in.
Let's go with our check-in. I'm not sure why my slides are not cooperating with me this time, but let's see. Our check-in today is really asking us to share the name of a famous woman, dead or alive, that we feel that we're standing upon their shoulders. This is a woman that you go to mentally, right, for inspiration, for focus to move forward. Now, don't tell me your mommy, because when you ask this question, everybody's, my mom. Your mom is not famous.
You should have warned us.
We know you love her, but she's not famous. We don't know her. Yes, she is. Well, she is to you, but we want a recognizable name. So think about a famous woman, dead or alive, that in your mind you go to, like, you know, this is I need her in my life right now. And I'm pulling from her energies to push me forward with this thing. I know, Denise, Miss Mary was famous, but we didn't know her. Okay? So we want a recognizable figure.
If she's dead, we don't know her either. I'm just
So we want to inspire ourselves, and we want to. The reason for this self-care is because often we feel that we're alone in a situation, and the stories of so many other women can help to push us forward. So while I try to accommodate these slides, who will be the first to share? Who is that famous woman?
Shonda, do you have somebody?
I do.
Go. You go first, Shonda.
I had to quickly shift
because
from
I
my
can't.
mama.
She said no mommies.
I had to shift from my mama. Okay.
I cannot believe you guys.
I'm kidding.
Oh my goodness. Your mamas will be proud though.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Your mamas will be proud.
Man. Well, the one that I have in mind, she may not be extremely famous, but today I am for all of you to go and search her on Google. Ella Baker. Ella Baker. I'm a social worker, so Ella Baker was a social worker. And she was also extremely influential in the civil rights movement. For those of you who don't know, now you do know Ella Baker. She was one who was pretty much a quiet person, but very powerful. And I guess when she spoke, people stopped to listen. And I go to her because she did a lot of work where sometimes the people around her didn't know what she was going to do next. But because she observed, participated, and made things happen, she was extremely powerful and being influential again during the civil rights era. There were moments when her and Dr. King didn't even clash. They clashed heads. She had to pull him aside and say, look here, brother. Don't forget that we women are, very important, because I'm sure he could get caught up in his time, and still then, women were almost always in the background to a certain degree. And she had to remind him, and a lot of people sometimes looked away from her because she did just that. But guess what? He needed to be checked too. Leader or not, we all need someone in our corner or in our circle who can just pull us aside and say, get this right, brother. This is a crucial time in America, in history, and in the world. So I go to her when you see things moving, changing, disrupted. She was a steady hand, but also moved when needed to, and very powerful. So the famous Ella Baker.
Yeah, thanks for that. She definitely was a mover and a shaker. Listen, and sometimes that's what we're called to do. Sometimes we have to check those people in power for them to do the right thing, right?
Right.
Awesome. Let me share some of what while Tricia thinks. Let me share. You already have someone?
No, I had someone. It's just not the normal sense of famous, but I did have someone.
Okay, so we have Mary Kay Ash, we have Eleanor Roosevelt. Denise is filled with a lot of women that she's inspired by. That's great. So Vilmeda says Michelle Obama. Yeah, I think Michelle is a favorite for a lot of folk. Tricia, who's your person?
So mine isn't a traditional sense of famous. It's actually a woman in the Bible. So if you allow me to use her, then I can say why. Mine, the woman I go to when I need to courage is Abigail. And the reason I go to Abigail for just a quick reminder of the story, she had a fool for a husband, and who almost cost the life of her entire household and servants. And the servants knew to go to her, so that means they knew that they could go to her to solve problems. And she thought with her head, spoke with her heart, saved her family, got herself a new husband in the process, who turned out to be the king of Israel. So this ability to think on our feet and be courageous, and be there when problems needed to be solved is why I admire Abigail so much.
Wow. Yep. Yep. I've spoken about Abigail. Definitely a wise woman. And it says that she was, Bible says that she was a beautiful,
smart and beautiful.
Exactly.
The Bible says both.
Beautiful woman. Margaret says Maya Angelou. Absolutely. Glenda too. Maya Angelou has a lot of takers today. Absolutely. Very wise woman, very powerful. Just the way Maya Angelou will present herself in a room. Woo. Mercy. You know, you really have to stop and listen. So my person is the person that Denise mentioned, one of the many that Denise mentioned. Denise has a whole slew of women that she's
sometimes you need a woman for every,
every occasion. That's right. So Shirley Chisholm, I love Shirley Chisholm, and I think Denise shared with me that she knew her personally. Denise, that you had met her as a little girl. I think that Shirley Chisholm, in the annals of the history of this country, she is really underrated. Not that people don't talk about, don't know her contributions, but I think there should be much more said about her. There were initiatives that Shirley Chisholm started that carry the name of men who she partnered with, but did not carry her name. Right? And she was really the brain behind it. Now we're talking about paid leave for mothers, blah, blah. Shirley Chisholm had brought that up way back when, right?
70s.
In the 70s. And everyone said no, because the mother is supposed to be home taking care of the kids, right? So I think she was a visionary. She was really a woman ahead of her time. And if it wasn't for her, we would not have a Barack Obama. We would not have a
Michelle.
No.
Stacey Abrams.
Kamala.
Stacey Abrams. We won't have a Kamala Harris. She was really the barrier breaker, and she knew it. She said, "I may not win. I know that, but at least I'm going to make sure that I'm pushing for it so that people can see the possibility of a woman and a Black woman being president." So she's definitely one. One of my go-to persons for a long time too was not that she isn't still, but I don't see her as often, was Oprah. I think
I thought of her too.
Yeah, her ability to reach if you think about where Oprah came from and who she has become, because she has a staying power.
Yes.
Right? If you think about having had an abortion, being sexually abused, and becoming this force for really healing and bringing people together, she is definitely one of the people that I try to stand on.
You know what I admire the most about her? Her interviewing skills.
Absolutely.
She can cut.
There's nobody.
She can cut right through. There's one person that I would love when I'm thinking about interviewing people. I look at her because she has a way to just cut right through, be vulnerable with people, get them to pare down the tears in like 3 seconds. She gets the truth. And
I think the thing about her is that Oprah is very genuine. Despite her millions, I could see her come to my house and sit down and have lunch. She's very genuine. So, and that is a rare quality when people get to a certain standard, right? Some people ain't got that kind of money and it plays. I know a couple. Mercy. You know what I mean? Come on. So I think that is so Denise is clarifying. She met her as a teenager. And her dad was very active in the politics in the 60s. Well, but Denise, that must have been something to meet her. And then Denise clarifies that Black women were rarely at home. They were taking care of children. So I think that Shirley Chisholm knew this. She knew that they needed help because they were working, right? So yeah. And yes, Glenda, she always said, if there's not a seat for you at the table, bring your folding chair. So she definitely brought her chair to the table, and I want to appreciate her. Thank you for this moment, this check-in, because sometimes we need to remember that there were women ahead of us, or women who are still here, like Michelle Obama, who's still here. Tamika Mallory, who is a great activist, young woman, who are still here. Stacey Abrams, which we're going to talk about, who are still here doing the work, and it's not like, oh my goodness, I'm alone and I'm the only one going through this. No. Borrow from the strength and the wisdom. Listen to these women and learn from them. Look at their demeanors. Look at how they carry themselves and learn from them and carry that. Denise said another person that people haven't, which is true, is Diane Carroll. I learned a lot about Diane Carroll. I had my students read this book, believe it or not. Cicely Tyson's Just As I Am. That was one of the assigned readings this semester. What? Yes, it was.
Yes.
And I will tell you, across the board, Asian students, Black students, Latino students, they loved the span and just the wisdom that she brought forth. So that's another person that I think I gleaned from a lot. Cicely Tyson, so much to say, such a life well lived. The woman lived her life, wrote her book, and then died 2 days later. Like, what a way to live, right?
Yes.
There's so many women out there that we can really just the list goes on and on. We have a list that we can just lay in comfortably and know that someone will be able to support. Because another one for me, and it comes from a different area, is Aretha Franklin.
Oh, absolutely.
She walked around with her pocketbook full of money because the sister was always prepared to handle her scandal, pulling out a lot of people during the civil rights movement who were incarcerated. She was just a quiet storm in the background, also going through a lot to become such an icon, a soul, the queen of soul, actually.
Right.
And you know,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was thinking this week because I was talking to someone who has a daughter, and he said that he plays Beyonce's music for her because of the empowering sort of words and all of that. And the reason I'm saying this is because people find strength in models for all kinds of different reasons.
That's right.
And just because a woman may not necessarily be our cup of tea doesn't mean that she doesn't inspire something for others.
Agreed.
And I say that to say, kind of echo what Shonda said, there are role models everywhere.
Agreed.
Right.
There are women who are role models everywhere.
Yep.
And we can be role models.
Absolutely.
As well. So someone's looking at us just like we are looking at others. And if we remember that, then it helps sometimes what encourages us is not the women who are before us, but when we see the women who are coming behind us. And what pushes you to do that thing, to go one more day, to take that step, is not the women whose shoulders you stand on, but the women who are standing on your shoulders. And you say, I need to do it because of them.
Absolutely. So that check-in, ladies, may that remain with you. Shonda, you were going to say something?
Oh, no, I just said that's right.
Yeah, may this check-in remain with you, that in those moments when you feel like, oh my goodness, think about some woman who broke a barrier, maybe for you or for someone else, but get inspired by her. All right, so let's go to our spotlight. Today, our spotlight for Read Women International comes to the island of San Andres, Colombia. And in the photo, you'll see our two sisters, Vilmeida Zabaleta and Shanner Bowie. Shanner Bowie is a psychologist. Vilmeida joined For Real International first, and that's her younger sister. And together, they work in San Andres. They had a video, but the video would not allow me to upload because it was kind of long. But they recently had an event for the Day of the Girl. Here you see the little girls sitting with Shanner. And the way she begins that, because they take the whole session, but the way she begins that session was very important. She was going to talk to them about COVID-19 and how to keep safe and all the questions that they had. But she started the video by pointing out to the girls, you have rights. And these are your rights. It doesn't matter how young you are. It doesn't matter if you're Black, if you're brown. It doesn't matter if you don't speak like the people. You have rights. And your rights are the following. You have a right to your voice. You have a right. It was so empowering. I myself felt like, wow, I wish that at my age, somebody would have told me that. Because many times as kids, they make us feel as if you don't have no rights. Children should be seen, not heard, right? So she went down the line as to all the rights. She talked about you have the right to, nobody should be touching your body. You have that right. You have the right to say no to a relationship, male or female, that is not positive, and that makes you feel heard. So that was very good. And I saw how the young women really zeroed into that part, because I think people rarely tell young people about their rights. They kind of like demand them, but no one says to them, you also have rights, right? So they had the day of the girl. And notice, this is what I love about Furry Women International. And this is why I will forever be a fan of Furry Women International. Never mind that I found it, but I will be a fan. Here's why. We reach women where they are. This is a house, somebody's apartment. The little girls are there. We reach them where they are. No big event, no big gymnasium, thousands of women. Sometimes not everybody's going to get touched there, right? We go to where the help is needed, and we reach and touch where they are. And this was such a powerful scene. Here is Shannon with her little laptop. Nothing fancy, no screen, no big screen, balloons on the wall, little girl sitting in a bedroom, and here she is taking the time to empower them. So congratulations to, by the way, remember San Andres had a devastating natural disaster. Was it last year? No, year before last or last year? Listen, COVID has completely blurred my timelines. And those ladies did fantastic work in their community. They went on motorcycles, and they basically helped to just uplift the community. So we want to say a shout out to Shanner and to Vilmeda. Amazing work in San Andres, Colombia. We are so proud, and we're inspired by what you do. Tricia and Shonda, any words?
I'm like Tricia, it's all thumbs up to just reach people where they are. This is what this organization does. So like Nork, I'll forever be a fan, because that is just so humbling right there to see the hearts of these young girls being touched by one of our members.
I was watching a video this week about different types of doctors, and I never thought about this before. It was a pediatrician saying that when you save the life of a child, you save the life of future generations. And the reason I bring it up here is the work that we do with girls literally saves the lives of future generations. Because if they go into life, whatever their walk, with a healthy sense of who they are and what their rights are and what they're able to accomplish and why their voice is necessary and their responsibility and the way to take care of themselves, all of these things that may have taken us 40, 50 years to learn, they can learn at 15. Imagine the amount of time, of useful time in life that they don't have to waste finding themselves. And all of that time is productive time pouring into others. That's the beauty of this.
Yes, yes. And Vilmeda is watching us, and she's saying thank you. Vilmeda, we say thank you to you for the work. And I know I've met women who have said to me, oh, I want to make a difference in the lives of women like you do. What do I do? How do I bring a crowd? It's not about the crowd. It's really touching women where they are. The crowd may come and it may not come. But it's what Tricia said, the long-term impact on the life of even one woman. That is what really matters. Shanner is also watching. She's saying thank you very much. So Shanner and Vilmeda, excellent work. We celebrate what you've done, and we admire you. You were inspired by you, and we invite you to keep pushing forward. So now we go to news from the world of women. Wow. Let's start with Ilan Omar. Shonda, what's going on?
Wow. So this sister who survived being in a refugee camp back home with her family to rise through the ranks. I'm not sure whose shoulders she stood on, but she made it. And here she is, a representative of Minnesota. She's a Black woman, very powerful, very outspoken, but yet the ignorance of a country that's supposed to be about better or good. Her colleague, a first-term representative, Lauren Boebert, out of Colorado, decided to stick a dagger in this sister's heart by calling her a member of the Jihad Squad, making jokes, And what this has done has allowed the Republicans to feel that anything that anyone in there can do. And I'm not saying that it's Republican, Democrat, but Bobart happens to be a white female Republican. And we know right now in this country, there's a lot of racial turmoil that's taking place, political turmoil, and the ultimate is attack on women. This is a woman who has children, Ilhan Omar. Lauren Bobart is also a woman. You are causing and creating more violence to come towards this woman. Since the time she started running, the threats have not stopped. They're ongoing. But when we see her, as gorgeous as she is, she's still out there representing the people, representing her district, because she's all about what's fair, true, just, and right. And so it is just atrocious. This is pathetic of another woman in politics, a politician who has such a high political public position, to take aim at her. And this is just causing a lot of fear in her family. You know, she has children. She has a daughter who attends college. Can you imagine what, maybe going through the minds of people who are in, a surrounding area of her daughter? So the Congressional Black Caucus has just said enough of this. It needs to be addressed and it needs to stop. But unfortunately, Republicans are not speaking out against it. I don't know if there are many in the Democratic Party who are also speaking against it, but it happens to be primarily women, a lot of Black women. And look, there are Muslims who are Republican who you've yet to hear from. And so it's unfortunate. So, and sorry for the background distraction. Hold on.
Norca, did you see the
So
note
hopefully,
that?
I'm sorry, Trisha.
No, that's fine. That YouTube is disabled. I just wanted to. Did you see that, Norca? So that it's caught as early as possible. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Shonda.
No, please do. That's important.
You're muted, Norca.
Carry forward. I'll see what I can do.
Okay.
Yeah. So that not much more to add to it other than we need to have some positive thoughts going out for Ilhan Omar and her family and her children, and we as women, hence the pink room, not about just women, but we need to put it out there that people, you need to speak out and talk up against this, because this is threatening, it's scary, and it's dangerous. I don't know if anyone has ever been on the other end of a threat and not sure where it's going to come from, but I'm sure this is not a pleasure for a woman who has come from an environment where her life and her family's life was threatened, running through, unsafe areas just to get to a refugee camp, just being able to have the opportunity to come abroad in America, have an opportunity. And look, here she is trying to do the right thing for people in America, yet her own colleague feels it's okay to make such statements that are causing threats to her life. So it's pathetic. It's a shame, and I wish her safety.
I think we live in an environment that has just messed up the meaning of humanity.
Yes.
We have othered so much that she does not see another mother across the aisle.
Mm-hmm.
She just sees an enemy, and that's fair game.
Yeah.
And we do not have to go that far. We may look at her in Congress and say, oh no, but we have people close to us, daily lives, co-workers, neighbors, friends who attack the same way for whatever reason, personal gain, jealousy, envy. This is like in the highest expression, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen every day.
Exactly.
And I think that what we need to be is mindful that in our interactions with each other, we do not do the same thing in our scale.
Excellent point.
That we do not attack a woman's character by spreading gossip or by whispering something when she's saying something at work, or, snickering when she's trying to make a point, make life difficult for a neighbor by whatever reason, questioning a family member because we don't, agree with their decisions, talking behind their back. All of these are the same behavior, but at a smaller scale.
Yeah.
So I think that the important part of what we do when we're looking at news in the world of women, it's not only for us to look far away at what's happening and make commentary. It's about us looking at what's happening and seeing how it applies to us in our personal lives. The courage they show, how can we show it? The evil they're showing, how do we make sure we don't show it? And until we make each other accountable, this will continue. The only language this other congressperson will understand is if she gets voted out. And if she gets voted out for this reason, right? Not just voted out, but voted out for this reason, for people in her district to say, I don't agree with what you're doing, so you're out.
Exactly.
Right. Let me, before I make my comment, let me apologize to our YouTube watchers. Apparently, the video was categorized as a child's video, and that's why it's playing, but that's why they cannot chat live, right? So they'll be able to watch it, but they cannot chat live because it has the kids description on it. I've been trying, but I think because it's running live, it's not allowing me to. So my comment on this, I agree with everything that has been said. I think that we have become so divided as a nation that we have lost all sense of civility. Because regardless of your political position, this is a human being. Right. This is a woman like yourself. This is a mother like yourself. At what point do we draw the line? And it seems that people are willing, and I hope we are noticing that more and more women are trying to cross that line to show themselves as, I'm just as bully as the guys.
Yeah.
And say these outlandish, crazy things. Unfortunately, as Tricia said, the only thing that we can do is vote them out. I really wish there was more that we could do. There need to be laws on civility. But this is madness. This is really madness. At what point is it going to end? At what point is it going to end?
And she was offended when Representative Omar discontinued a call. Yes, she hung up because it was not an apology. She tried to, from my understanding, speak her way around what the real issue was. And so Representative Omar did the right thing. You waste your time on someone who has no respect for humanity. And she discontinued to call, and she tried to make it a political thing. But be it as you may, your attack is on social media. It's out there. You created this towards this woman. So kudos to you, Representative. Our thoughts are there with you and your family. Be safe, stay aware, be alert.
So I see Denise has some comments here as we move on to our second news, which is Stacey Abrams for governor. Denise says the issue is fair. The more power that people of color attain, the more aggressive non-minorities will become. They're threatened. And I agree. And I think the more power that women of color also attain, it's a very scary proposition for people who are not balanced. But Tricia, what's going on with Stacey Abrams, your favorite person?
Listen. Listen. So when she lost, she didn't lose. In her mind, she's not a failure. She's not a loser. She just took that and used all her energy to make sure that people from Georgia were able to vote for the presidential election and the Senate seats. And we know what happened with that. And after she did that and delivered, I was like, for sure, she has to be the pick for vice president, right? There's no other person. And when they were having, I don't know what it was, I think it was debates or something, like they were trying different people out, and she spoke, and I was like, see, like, she's a person, and she wasn't named, and I was like, really? And then I heard that she said no, she wasn't interested. She had other work to do. She has her eye on that governor's mansion. And she is not going to stop until she gets her foot in that governor's mansion and her head on the pillow in the governor's mansion's master bedroom. She isn't going to stop. And she's going to be writing her nonfiction books and her fiction books under her pseudonym in the office of that governor's mansion, or drinking tea in that governor's mansion's porch. She isn't going to stop. And I am so, when I heard the news that she was running again this week, I said, listen, it is that focus in purpose that we don't have. We meet upon a discouraging thing and we say, then maybe this isn't for me. I was wrong. Maybe this isn't in God's plan. I must have made a mistake. And then you pivot and you try something else. No, she has this like laser focus. This is what she knows she came to do, and she'll work all the other stuff, but this is what she came to do. I so admire that. And I wish that we would encourage that more. That idea that if you lost, you didn't lose. Keep going. Gather up your things, learn the lesson, and keep it moving. And eventually, there's a saying in Spanish, help me, Norca, tanto va el cántaro al agua que termina por romperse.
Oh my goodness. So the bucket goes so many times to the well that at the end it bursts, right?
Yes, you keep at it until something's going to use. So kudos to Stacey Abrams. I hope this is the time. Georgian people better pay attention and vote.
Yep, absolutely. And listen, Stacey Abrams is so strategic. I mean, my great admiration for her is the way she thinks things through. It seems to me that she does not make a step without carefully thinking what is going to be her end goal of it. And I heard her once talk about 3 questions she constantly asks herself, in a TED talk. But she's one of the great female strategists of this time.
Absolutely.
Political or not, just great female strategists. And also a woman that utilizes, she's not one track, right? So here is it that she did this for the thing, but then she wrote fiction.
Well, that's why I said she's going to sit in that office and write fiction and nonfiction.
Because we're always told you do this one thing and keep yourself at that, right?
Jack of all trades, master of none. Not true. Do it all. Whatever it is, whatever the gifts you have, use all of them.
Exactly. Do it all. She can go as far as she want. I agree, Margaret. As far as she want, as wide as she want. She's really teaching us that this is what it really means to be in your full power as a female.
Yes. Look, it was planted. She had that seed planted in her from a young child. She came up in an environment where it was about you can do what you put your mind to. Yes. And she kept applying that throughout every phase of her life. And so we're waiting for her to rest her head on that pillow in the mansion.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
I know you will go there, please, yeah. Right. So our final news is kind of like a down news, but the reason why we're bringing it because there's something that we all can do to help out in this situation. Some of you might have remembered this case, Crystal Kaiser. Just look at that picture.
Listen.
Look at that picture of that young Black girl, right? Crystal Schuyler was she was arrested. She shot this guy Voller, who shot him in his head twice, lit his home on fire because he had been trafficking her for years. She met him when she was 16 years old. She was a minor. He was 34 years old, a 34-year-old white man, sexually abused her over and over, but would give her money because she was poor. And then he began trafficking her to other men using this famous Backpage. You guys remember that website? Was shut down because they associated it with child sexual trafficking. So one day he pinned her to the ground, and when she said, enough, I'm not having sex with you, pinned her to the ground. She thought he was going to kill her, and she took his gun and shot him and burned his house. Of course, she was arrested. She was given a life sentence. Non-profit organizations came together and they paid for a $400,000 bond. They paid for her to be released. But now, interesting, because her plea was self-defense, right? And the law at the time, or the judges, the court felt that's not good enough. You killed a man, you're gonna get life in prison. So now, on the heels of Rittenhouse,
listen to me,
this young man who got a fully guilty verdict, right? Because he claimed self-defense after killing two men who he claimed, he was doing to protect his life. He took this gun, went across state lines to protect property that was not his, and he protected it. So now the petition is, well, if he could go free for pleading self-defense and supposedly protecting himself, right? Then we need to also do the same for Crystal Kaiser. So I'm going to put it in the chat here, and I'm going to invite you to sign the petition. I signed it. Sign the petition and let it be known that she also has a right to plead self-defense. I just put it there. I hope everyone can see it. Yes, she needs to be free. She was the first one who pleaded, and that was real self-defense. And let me not go into the details of that, but it would be good if we could support this petition. It has almost 1,500 signatures already. This young woman needs to be be allowed to go free, and there needs to be some services put at her disposition, mental wellness, whatever needs to happen for her to reestablish herself in society. She was a child when this person abused her. And clearly, this is an injustice. On top of all that she went through, this is just a double rape of her to have this happen. So yes, Crystal needs to go free. So we invite you to sign the petition so that as much pressure can be made on the petition. You'll see has a letter to, I think, the Attorney General, the governor there. So let's sign that petition and let's help to make Crystal Kaiser go free. Any comments, ladies?
I think that there's power in the voices. A couple weeks ago, we talked about the Afghanistan girls being sold into marriage. And because of all the noise that CNN made, long story short, their mother and the entire family has been taken out of the place they lived. The old man had to give her back. Everybody was now saying, we don't condone that. That's wrong. This little girl is no longer married to this man. And it was only because of the noise that was made. And I use noise intentionally. I mean loud voices. I don't mean I mean loud voices. And I think there's power in us coming together and saying this isn't right. And that may be something that we pick up in the pink room. And we haven't discussed it, but of course we're unscripted, so that's how we roll. Thinking of causes like this one that we encourage those who view us to sign up on and support, because this is important. I don't know if anyone has done a study of how many Black women are in jail because they killed
self-defense
or attempted to kill whoever was being abusing them and did not have anybody defending them, really, so they're in jail. I wonder how many, if someone, I don't know if it exists, and if it doesn't exist, we should ask that question, because after Rittenhouse went free, After Rittenhouse went free, this week, right here in Florida, they found body parts of a woman in one of the waterways, and her partner killed her. 8-year-old daughter identified him. This man has had drug charges, including heroin, from the 80s. And he's walking out and about long enough to be able to kill this woman. And we have young Black men and women in jail for weed.
Mm-hmm.
And this man is walking around from the 80s with heroin.
Right.
There is clearly a problem in our injustice system.
Absolutely.
And clearly something needs to be done.
Absolutely. I'm trying to remember, Sean, that there was a time when we pushed behind a petition and this woman was let free. And I'm trying to remember specifically which one it was, but that is certainly something that we should start doing again. We pulled forces, and it was a case about 4 years ago, and the woman was let free. So we want to bring this particular case to you. And let's join our forces, because the more signatures, the more pressure, right? There's 1,500 signatures. Let's push to see if we get it to 2,000. If you know someone who should be signing this too, share it with your friends. Whatever we can do. Krista, I always look at it this way. She could be my cousin. She could be my sister. She could be my niece, right? Nothing impedes something like that from happening to one of us. Go ahead, Shonda.
Quick comment too, 2 and 1. The injustice system, and I thought about using that term too, Tricia, but I also thought about how justice is served, and unfortunately it's how people twist the rules and the laws, and then we think of it as an injustice system. It's because we have been not fairly treated. We don't receive the true justice through the system tons of times, historically, our historically. And I'm thinking about the person. It was around the time of Zimmerman with the Trayvon Martin. When he what was it that he had the right? Oh, I can't think of
self-defense. Stand your ground.
Stand your ground. There was a woman at the time when you're talking about Florida. In Florida, I think her name is something.
A Black woman,
Lechelle, or who didn't shoot and kill anyone. She shot the gun in the air because she was being abused. And I believe until today, she may be doing house arrest right now. But she's still serving some type of sentence. And he's alive. No one was harmed, and she was defending herself. And so we can clearly see how, when it comes to young Black and brown women specifically, there is not a double standard. It is just no standard, no respect for the justice system to work the way it's supposed to. When you have people like Rittenhouse, who walk away because of his age and says it was self-defense, and clearly he's walking the street and he's getting like the high five sign.
Gets home safely in one piece.
Offered water, all of the above. We see it over and over and over again. But this is when those down votes, and I'm sorry to keep going a little bit, when those votes went outside of the presidential elections, when we need to be voting, and it was because the previous person who was in office just constantly pushed all of his judges in who will have lifetime positions. And so this is why we're seeing more and more about people being treated unfairly in systems, because they're the ones who are heading those circuit courts. And so justice just won't prevail. And it's unfortunate that's happening at this time again, as it did in days of slavery and moving forward, that Crystal has to go through this exact same experience, same defense, and he was known to be abusing her. So where's all of the child defenders? Where's all the sex abusers? Where are all of these people speaking on her behalf to say what was done to her was wrong? She defended herself. She was a child. So sign that petition. Get her out.
Thank you, Glenda and Denise. They have signed and they're sharing. Glenda
Arlene says it's 1,500,000.
Right. I'm going to put that on right now. Too many women are in prison when they stand up for themselves against their abusers. Denise said it's signed and shared. And Arlene, thanks for that correction. It's 1,500,000 signatures that are there. Ooh. So we are going to add to that. If it needs to get to whatever number it needs to get, that's a lot of pressure. So I am sure that something will happen. However, let's go to Brighter Matters. We have some fantastic ladies in the pink room today. We have Dr. Teka and Haynes, Lechelle Thornhill-Boothe, Jewel Jordan. We're going to bring them on. And we have some slides of some of the work that they do. Hi, Dr. Teka.
Hello.
And Lechelle. Hi, Lechelle. I think Jewel, let me see, I'm missing Jewel. She'll be coming on soon. But we have some slides, and while we screen those slides of with beautiful pictures of the work that they do, they're going to share with us what their business is about. They're also going to share their handles. We're going to ask you to please take the time as they share their handles, go on Instagram, Facebook, follow them, right? Let's give them that honor for taking the time to share here with us. So we are going to start with Lechelle. Lechelle is the owner of Sugar Crush Petite Confection. So Lechelle, go right ahead and tell us about your business.
You're muted, Lechelle.
Sorry about that. Hello, good evening, everyone. I am the CEO owner of Sugar Crush Girl Confections. I started this business back, I would say, approximately 5 years ago. It is a confectionery business, so I do custom cakes and cupcakes or anything else in between. The only thing I do not do, unfortunately, is sugar cookies, but everything else I do. This business was born of, it was actually a hobby. This hobby came about because I fell ill during my first few years living on campus in college. I was attending Farmingdale State University, and I no longer could attend because I was ill. And my little escape would be baking at home. And my family started to realize that I was doing pretty good for someone who was self-taught. So they encouraged me heavily to start a business. So I listened to that whisper, which became a yell and then a roar. And I eventually started my business from home, from scratch, all from these two little hands. So yes, that's my story.
Lechelle, give us your handles. And I hope everyone is seeing all the cakes here. It's just amazing stuff. Give us your social media handles.
Sure. So on Instagram, it would be Sugar Crush, spelled normally, SUGARCRUSH, and girl, but girl is without the I, so it's GRL. And on Facebook, it would be the same thing. So Facebook/Sugar Crush Girl, spelled the same way, NYC. And that's how you'll find my information.
So Kim, share with us about your business, what it is. You actually have two businesses, and I'll show the video after you're done with this so they can see the other one, and tell us your social media handles.
So, hi everyone. My name is Jewel Jordan. Some people refer to me as Kim. I am the owner of Jewel's Vintage Closet, which is a vintage boutique that specializes in colorful, amazing pieces. Our motto is that vintage is more than what you wear, it's a state of mind. And we want women to feel beautiful regardless of what you have on. But I also believe that people see you before they hear anything. So we believe that you should also look fabulous. I am also the co-owner with my husband of our business, R&J's Cuisine. My husband is a chef. He is amazing. And our catering business, R&J's Cuisine, we specialize in authentic Caribbean cuisine with a twist. And you can find us on all social media. For Jewel's Vintage Closet, it's at Jewel's Vintage Closet. Our store page is at jewelsvintagecloset.store. And our catering business is RJS Cuisine on Instagram and R&J's Cuisine on Facebook. Doesn't that look amazing, though? Just a shameless plug. He really is awesome.
Dr. Teka, share with us about your business and your social media handles if you have.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. First, I want to say, Joel, that plantain wrapped with whatever you have it wrapped with, it's creative, and I want some of whatever you have that plantain wrapped with. I am Teka Ann Haynes. I'm a global sales director at Mary Kay Cosmetics, and I'm a skincare guru. I help women, men, kids, your entire family create and maintain healthy, flawless skin. I do makeup tutorials. I teach you every day how to, glam your face. I say when you look good, you feel good and you do good. So I teach you how to glam your face just for everyday looks and for exotic looks. I help you with your body care. I am a big self-care advocate. And so Self-Care Sundays, if you follow any of my pages, you'll see we talk a lot about Self-Care Sundays. And so we use shea butter body care to care for our body on Sundays and every day. And I also help you with smelling good. So everything cosmetic is what we do. And then the other part of my business is I develop leaders for our company. So I always say life is about choices. It's a mantra my kids and I repeat every day. And so I use this opportunity, Mary Kay, as a vehicle to help women to create choices in their lives.
Do you have any social media handles?
Yes. So I am on Instagram at Dr. Teka Ann, and then my Facebook page is Dr. Teka Ann Haynes. So I'm going to post them also in the chat.
Thank you. So I'm going to bring everyone back on. This is amazing, actually. Yes, the plantains look good. He's really a great cook. The colors, Lechelle. I've tasted Lechelle cakes. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Lechelle, no. Very, very good. So we're so excited because yes, go, Teresa, we can't hear you.
I can bear witness to Teka Ann Haynes makeup.
Yes.
I started wearing makeup when I was 40.
Oi.
Because she came up to me and said, "You look beautiful. Come by my house Monday. Let's see what we can do." And I've been a fan ever since. So you've tasted the cooking and the cake. I've worn the makeup.
I love it.
Nice, nice. We're so excited to have you guys. And it's amazing because the three of you are young. And I love that because it also speaks to that reality that a lot of young women are choosing this path, right? Mm-hmm. Of having business for themselves. So we want to start with the first part. We want you to share with us, how did you decide to start your own business? And maybe why did you decide to start your own business?
Okay, I'll go first. So I'll go first. So it's interesting how this journey, I always say, God honors the chase and he puts you exactly where you need to be at the time that you need to be there. And so my journey is very unlikely. I was in school, finishing my doctorate. And if we remember the housing crash in 2008, we lost our renters. My husband and I were newly married. We had just celebrated our first anniversary and we lived in our home in California. And then we lost our renters in our rental property in Atlanta. And you know how you, I'm from a Caribbean background. I'm Jamaican. And so I was raised with the whole idea of go to school, get your education, work until retirement, so I'm literally right now a year out from finishing my doctorate. So I'm really like living the dream, really what was my parents' and my grandparents' dream, right? Living the dream, and this happened. And so we need some extra income. And I was introduced to Mary Kay, to the products, a year before when I was getting married. I'd gotten a pamper session through David's Bridal. And I love the products. And I was already being a smart shopper, just buying them for myself at half off. So I thought, this is going to be something flexible that I can make some extra money and still, focus on school, but on the weekend, just make some extra money. And my husband and I shared one car. So that didn't make it any easier for like getting, a part-time job. So this became just something like a side gig. I was going to do it just for a year. When I graduated, I was going to just go work until retirement age. And then, once I started this, my eyes opened, because then I saw other female entrepreneurs, because I was raised with people who are employees, people who work and you work until you retire, right? And so I saw through different lens. I saw women who were raising their kids from home. I saw women who were homeschooling their kids and still having a full-blown career. So then it shifted for me to become, hey, I can be an entrepreneur and a mom and a wife and do it all and not have to sacrifice on any of the ends. And our philosophy of at Mary Kay is God first, family second, career third. And so this became an opportunity for me to do that. And then I just graduated and then ran full blown with this.
Wow. So much in that journey I can relate to. Lechelle or Jewel?
Well, for me, I started Jewel's Vintage Closet in 2007, and I had just gotten married. And literally, I was just trying to figure out what I really wanted to do with my life. At the time, I was in college and I was studying, I believe, secondary education. And, I just for some background, I was never the kid that loved school. I always loved, being artistic, but I never, like, every time I was in the classroom, I always felt like I just didn't belong there, at least not the traditional school setting. So, I just told God, I'm like, I need to figure out what I really wanted to do with my life. And clear as day, he was like, you love vintage clothing, start selling it. Clear as day. So I started collecting vintage clothing, and I started having open houses at my home. And within, I would say, 4 to 5 years, I became like, especially within the SDA and the Christian community, like the girl, like, do you know Jewel? She has the cutest vintage clothing. And, I loved my life at that time, not knowing what God had next. And then in 2014, my husband and I, life happened, and what felt like it was the end for us. And, I had to put Jewel's Vintage Closet on the back burner. And then in last year, so from 2015, actually, I stopped until last year. I said, you know what? I wanted to rebrand. I wanted to come back because it's something that I really love to do. And, when I came back, I got the shock of my life because I didn't realize that there were so many vintage resellers out there. So I felt like I really didn't belong. And I'm just like, God, what happened? So I relaunched in January, but honestly, from January until May, like I went into this major depression because here I was, this is something that I love and it was something that I was familiar with, but I no longer felt like I belonged in this space. But God had to give me a reality check like, girl, you are amazing. Your aesthetic is amazing. Your voice is amazing. And what you have to offer, you need to get out of your own head. And it's still relevant in this time. And honestly, since I would say June or July, I have, I started to refocus, and I can honestly say, like, I'm happy to do what I love. I'm happy to let my voice be seen through my clothing. And even with our other business, R&J's Cuisine, my husband is a chef, and, we're co-partners, and we started in 2017. And my husband has been cooking for over 20 years. And, when I told him about it, he was a bit hesitant because if you know him well, he loves to be on the back burner. And he's like, now to be the face of this business, it was hard. But our business have, really thrived, and he's an amazing chef. We've been blessed to cater to some amazing people. We had one celebrity client, which was amazing. And, I honestly believe that God has great plans for both of us.
Thank you for that. Lechelle.
Yes, so my journey started with me being in college. I initially went to college to become, what was in my head, to become a doctor, but I feel like God knew me better than everyone else. And with my childhood having so much interest in food, when I got sick, I, started falling back on my hobby of baking at home. And a lot of family and friends realized that it was better than good, so to speak. So they, heavily encouraged me to do something with that. Play around with things more. I was so ill to the point where most of the time I didn't leave the house. So my parents, I would say, were the most instrumental in buying materials for me to play with at home so that I could figure things out. And I hit the ground running because, once I started selling my goods, I started to see the feedback I was getting from people. And it was shocking to be compared to names that I've heard elsewhere, people that I didn't think I was on the level of. and to look back over my portfolio and know where I've come from to where I am today. I think it's an amazing journey. I think Dr. Teka Ann hit it on the head when you said that, God has his plans for you, and he will put you where you need to be at that exact time that you need to be there. And there's no question about that for me with baking, at least. I went back to school at CUNY Queens College, and I'm currently in the process of obtaining my bachelor's degree in food science.
Yes.
Management studies. And that's where it became a big realization to me that the whole idea of going into school for biology or science just needed to be tweaked just a little bit to food science. And that's where I belong. That was my niche. So I'm working with that now and, trying to do the best that I can, and hopefully that we could get bigger from here.
Wow, amazing journeys, ladies. I don't know, Shonda, Teresa, you have anything to say? I'm just, I'm awed by the fact that it seems like all of you went away and were brought back to that initial start, which I find very interesting. And Teka, you are doing the prescribed thing that they tell us all we must do to be able to be successful, and realize that you could do something else besides that. So we want to ask you, where do you draw your inspiration from, right, for what you do? And each one of you has shared very different aspects of what you do specifically in your business, your passion. Where do you draw your inspiration from?
Go ahead, jump right in.
For me, initially, it was my mom. I remember, growing up, my mother would take us to flea markets in Trinidad, and I hated it. Even when we came up here, she would have us in the cold going to the flea markets, and I dreaded going. But then I eventually started loving it. And I'm like, why did I hate this all along? And now, going to flea market, finding these gems, I absolutely love it. And now it's actually my daughter, because when I think of the legacy that I want to leave and I think of what I want for her, I want her to be able to grow up where she has the opportunity to think about whatever she wants to do. And my husband and I, we provide her with the resources where she can do whatever it is she wants. I didn't have, initially growing up, I didn't have parents that said, what is your passion? It was just go to school, get a degree because it looks good on the wall. You know what I mean? And I want to create an atmosphere, both my husband and I, for her, where if she comes and she says, Mom, I want to be a painter, it's like, here are the finances, do whatever it is that makes your heart glad. So I think that is my inspiration now, working hard to be able to create that legacy where she's able to stand on her own and do what she really loves.
I love that.
That's beautiful.
Okay, I'll go next. So, it's an interesting question, inspiration, motivation, how we get those two intertwined all the time. When I initially started, I saw women doing things that I'd never seen before because I've been a student my whole life, right? So I saw women living lives, and I didn't have children yet. But one of the things that really impressed me early in my journey in Mary Kay was listening and looking at the children of the women who've been doing this for a long time. And so that became my initial inspiration to, it gave me a different thought. That's really what it is. And that's why I'm always big on the stories of others, because it really gives us a different thought than something that we've traditionally known. So over the years, that inspiration it's changed, right? So then I had my first kid, and then I had my second kid. And I've really seen that what really truly inspires me is my life goals. So I keep this, I don't know if you want to call it a journal, but it's on my phone. It used to be a paper and pen, but now it's on my phone. And I keep a life goal journal, I'd say, where I have a 30-year view, a 20-year view, a 10-year view, a 5-year view, and a 1-year view. And every single morning when I wake up, that is a part of my Teka Ann time in the mornings, is I look over that 1-year view every day. And I think to myself, what am I? It's like what you talked earlier about Stacey Abrams' questions. What do I want? Why do I want it, and how I'm going to get it? That is me every single morning on my 1-year view. And right now we're coming up to the end of the year, and I'm, taking my 5-year and, making a new 1 year for next year. But every single morning that I get up and I look at that, I'm on. Like it moves me into action.
Well, I could say for me, my inspiration again comes back to my parents. I'm of Caribbean descent as well, first generation American. So my mom is from Trinidad, my dad is from Grenada.
Mhm.
My father left Grenada and started his own business a long time ago in HVAC, and he is extremely successful. I would beg to say the most successful family member within my family tree. And my mother is always striving to learn more, and she always encouraged me from a small child to try new things, especially where food is concerned. So I think the combination of having an entrepreneur as a father and having someone that's always encouraging me to try new things and play with it and see what you could do to tweak it and change it, I think that combination really spoke to me and made me who I am today as far as where food is concerned and me, striving for my goals.
I want to draw a line between something that the three of you are saying here. You're mentioning your mothers, or a mother who in some way planted a seed, or mothers who did something. Can you speak to the power of, because I think that when we look at motherhood, it's not just that we raise kids and they become good citizens, right? You're literally planting seeds there, right? Can we talk a little bit more about that? How do you see that link between what you're doing now, your passion, and that mother planting that seed in you?
So I'll go. So my mom, when I talk about my mom and I think about my childhood, the two things that are very just present in my mind, my mom, you can always find her on her knees praying for her children. Like she consistently prayed for her children. And the second thing is my mom worked a lot. My dad passed away when I was 5. So my mom raised us as a single mom. And so she worked a lot. And because she worked a lot, one, it made us very independent because she was always at work. And 2, my mom always had a side hustle. And it wasn't until I became an entrepreneur that I made that connection, because my mom worked and she always had a side hustle. But her thing was education, 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 right? And so when I became an entrepreneur, I was like, how did I not see this? Like, how did I not make this connection before? My mom she's always selling something. Whether at the flea market, whether one-on-one, she was always selling something. She owned a restaurant, she owned a clothing store. So there was always something. And so we as children, being focused on school, always had to be working in her side hustles. Right? So that seed for entrepreneurship was definitely planted. And it's not surprising that my mom, her children, we're all entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Yeah, we're all entrepreneurs. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, like when I think about my mother, the word sacrifice comes to mind. She sacrificed so much for us. And I remember when she first came to the United States, and my sisters and we were still in Trinidad, I would just send her a list, and I don't even know to this day how she afforded it based on what she was making at the time, but everything we asked for, she would provide it. Fast forward into when we all moved here, she always sacrificed, and she is honestly one of my biggest inspirations, because even thinking about the fashion world, I remember growing up and being in secondary school, and I would always say, Ma, okay, what are you going to wear when you come up to my school? And she's like, it's okay, just choose my outfit for me. And she was always the flyest mother ever. If you know my mother, you can attest to the fact that she is fly. She's amazing.
She is.
And I think I got that from her, and she always told me, regardless of what you're going through in life, you should never look like what you're going through. Pull yourself together, put yourself together. And when you walk out that door, let everybody see how amazing you are. Leave whatever baggage you have at the altar, because she's also a prayer warrior. Leave it at the altar, but always look good. And, she taken that with me throughout my life. She still sacrifices for me today. She still inspires me today, and she's still fly. And I pray to be as inspiring and as fly as she is, when I grow up. I mean, I'm grown now, but when I am her age.
For me, regarding seeds being planted by my mom, I mean, I hear her. I could hear her clear as day with certain sayings that she says, try it. It can't hurt. And, what could you do differently? What are you tasting? all right, well, go that way, not this way. If they tell you no, why are they telling you no? You know, she's very, very encouraging in trying to understand the situation, what's going on, and analyze it, figure it out, and I guess try another method if that doesn't work. So it's always, how could you change it? How can you make it yours? Mm-hmm. And I can honestly say that has definitely helped shape my life greatly. I look at a lot of challenges in my life that way, not only food or cakes or cupcakes or anything of that nature, but a lot of times I fall back on the things that my mom has said. You know, when you teach yourself different things, new methods, new tricks, no one could take that from you. And what you've learned that someone else may have learned, you may take that in differently and produce differently. So that should not stop you, because there's so many people in this market and it may seem oversaturated. That should not stop you from going after what you want to do, because your hand on that thing is going to create something so different to everyone else's creation. That's what makes you you, and that's what makes what you create yours. And I think that's the most beautiful thing I would be able to impart to my children when I do have children one day.
Listen, I hope people are taking notes here. There's like, we're on Inspiration Club 9 right now. Like, there's so much that these women have shared with us today that is so inspiring and uplifting. And I think about the fact that, yes, my mother was also a working mother. And for a long time, society made working women made them feel guilty, right? Because you're leaving the kids at home and blah, blah, blah. But I agree with Teka that in many ways, because she was a working woman, there were things that I became more independent. The way I approach the workplace is different, because of her and because of her breaking barriers and sharing with me some of the struggles that she had in the workplace. Let's stop looking at the woman in the workplace as this is such a terrible thing for families, but let's look at the benefit, especially for our daughters, of having those strong mothers out there doing the work. I'm Shonda, Tricia.
Yes. I think that one of the things that that has done for us is take away the guilt. I have not ever felt guilty about working outside of my home.
Love it.
Because I see what it did for me and for my brothers. And not only financially, I think that's the least value in a woman working outside of the home.
Agreed.
I think that the independence that we've talked about, the things that you said, same thing. My mom would say, when you walk in a room, the first thing they'll say is, why should I listen to her? And you need to look in such a way that the respect is from the minute you walk in. The taking care of yourself, the ability to stand up and for what you believe in, the fight you need to fight. Life isn't easy. And we saw them come home with their feet tired and taking off the girdle and the stocking and the entire thing and the hairpins out of the hair and into the kitchen. And so this idea of life being easy never crossed our minds. So then we know we have to work because that is what we've seen. Whether we had a father in the home or not, we still saw our mothers working. And so absolutely. But one of the things, and Shonda, before I'll be quiet in a second, but one of the things that I also noticed as you all three were speaking was far off the beaten path. This is, the things that you all have chosen are not what, and Teka said it, what traditionally would have been looked at from our parents' time as success. Right? The success would be in the hospital, in the courtroom, in the classroom. Right? And it doesn't matter how much money you made. What made you successful was the title and the place you worked. So you could be making way much more money driving trucks. What made success in their eyes wasn't the amount of money. It was the title and the place you worked. So seeing all three of you way off that idea of the title or the place I work meaning success And success being what now? What does success mean? It's a different definition.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I like this. I feel like I'm sitting here with 3 celebrities, right? It really does feel like that, and so I thank you all for being here. There's something called Ryu. It's a Japanese term for style, and if you look at the stories of all 3 of you celebrities, because that's what I want to call you, you all had that Mama Ru, right? The style of your mothers, and that's to show you how much women carry a lot of the power in the world, but we just don't talk about it a lot. We don't acknowledge it a lot, except for on a special occasion. But I think just hearing the 3 of you talk about the influence of your mother's style and the rule, I mean, these are conversations that we should always have some discussion about how much in those instances, because it's not for all people that their mothers have been that way. But we should always have this, always be, second, as some people say, to God when you're talking with people, a discussion about the role your mother has had in your life. So kudos to those women, because they've done an amazing a thing by instilling and planting those seeds in you. But I also want to do something that Norca did when she drew on a line that you all related to your mother. The line that I'm thinking of, and sometimes we don't like to talk about it, is each of you had a setback at some point in your life.
Yeah.
And what was it about that setback? And in the midst of it, not that I'm asking you to go back into those moments if they were dark or not. What was it in the midst of that moment, that setback, that you really sat and said, no, this shift has to be something outside of the line that I'm expected to do or that I've chosen to do?
I think for me, I'm sorry, I might tear up. When I was sick, my mom quit her job. She had just gotten a new job, a city job. Quit the job for us to fly to Cuba so that I can get well. And that was so moving for me because it was a job she always dreamed of having. And I didn't ask her to do it, but it was an unsaid choice that she made.
Wow.
And to this day, there's no thank you, no words besides what I do when I put my hands in flour and cake to show her my gratitude for what she has done for me. Both her and my father, because he was there too. But
I'm crying now. I'm crying. I heard the story before, Lechelle, but now I'm crying. The power of mothers, I think that we underestimate. We know that they're there for us, but we underestimate the level of their love. Such a beautiful story. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Lechelle.
Amazing.
For me, sorry.
No, go ahead.
For me, when in 2014, when what felt like the end for my husband and I, when we practically lost everything, and it was the year after that God blessed us with our daughter that we've been trying to have, for 8 years prior, and being told that it's not possible. And here she came at a time when my husband and I were done with each other and we felt like we literally lost everything. God blessed us with her. And to have a daughter, to now have a part of us in this world, it kind of feels like at that moment, I was telling God, like, my life has to have purpose. I know that it had purpose before, but to now have a child, I'm like, I don't want to leave this child with nothing, and as she continued to grow, I told God, I said, I want to do what I really love. I don't see how it's going to be possible, but I felt like I just needed to do what I love because I had other jobs, but nothing really brought me joy like Jewel's Vintage Closet. When I woke up every day, it's like, I kept asking God, like, is this my life? Am I just going to be a wife and a mother or working for someone else? And I told him, I said, whatever plans you had for me when you told me in 2007, I want you to fulfill those plans now. I'm here. I don't know where to start, but I want you to do it. It took a few years, but from 2015, when she was born, until last year in 2020, that's when he said, now it's time. you know? So for me, it was going through the dark phase of losing everything, finding myself, you know, putting my all into, you know, homeschooling my daughter. And then God was like, now is the time. Now that you've sacrificed so much, now is the time that I want you to get back out there. And it's hard. It's hard to, you know, to be absent from something for so long. But when you think about the plans that God has for your life, he's always on time, and my timing isn't his. And even though he waited so long to fulfill it, I'm so glad to be walking in my purpose now.
I love that. I love that. Chana, thank you for that question. So I'm gonna read a Bible text before I answer your question. Okay, so Psalm 37, 23 to 25, and I'm gonna do the feminine version of it. Okay, the steps of a good woman are ordered by the Lord, and she delighteth in her way. Though she falls, she shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord uphold her with his hand. I have been young, and now I'm old. Yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken, or her seed begging bread. Okay, and it's, you know, I really, when I tell you that I genuinely believe that every single thing that happens in my life is ordered by God, like I genuinely believe that. So, and I will tell you, not every time in the moment do I see it. Okay. Okay, let me just preface it like that. That's my, let me preface it by saying, not every time do I see it, but I have had enough experiences with God to know when I walk into something, even if the veil is over my eyes, I know that it is for my good. And so being on the path in California, in grad school, getting this degree, and then getting married while I was in school, because that, if anyone who knew me at this time was like, there's no way Teka Ann is ever going to get married in school, because I had one boyfriend, and it was this doctorate that I was getting. That was the only one. Okay, I was sold out. Like, this is my boyfriend. I'm not interested. So for me, getting married while in grad school, to the housing market crashing the year after we get married. And I am 1 year out, and I'm an immigrant. So I am working for this American dream. That's what I'm here for. I'm building this American dream. And we are 1 year out from becoming a 2-income home, and then, gonna have our kids. Like we were 1 year out from what we termed life becoming good for us, right? And then the housing market crashes. And here I am, introduced to something that is so foreign. I'm Jamaican, like salespeople in my culture are not educated people. Like, let's be clear, like in my culture, like the people who went into sales were the people who did not get the subjects and did not go to college. So now I'm introduced to this different way of life where now I'm going to sell. And I will tell you, my mom, it's funny, and mommy, if you're watching this, okay, I hope you're watching this. But my mom, when I told her I was going to start selling Mary Kay, had a complete meltdown. He was like, there's no way you're going to sell lipstick. Like,
you mean to say I sacrificed all those years and send you to school and you to go and sell lipstick? What?
You want to sell lipstick? It was one of the craziest times. And then my older brother, who is my hero, he then says, you're getting a doctorate and you're going to become a higgler. Do you guys know what a higgler is? That's someone who, like, in Jamaica, it's someone who, like, goes, like, to Panama or to Curacao and buys stuff and comes back and sells. Okay, so he's not calling me. He said, you're getting a doctorate, but you're going to be a higgler. So I am dealing with my family, like, the people who I value the most in my ears, like, this is crazy. And then everybody who, like, my friends who I was in school with, they could not understand why I was going to sell Mary Kay. So they also did not support my business. But the timing, had it been another time, I don't know that I would still be here today, 13 years later. But the timing of that was either I sell this Mary Kay or our house was going to foreclose.
Wow.
So I was between that rock and hard place where I had to zone in on, this is what needs to happen right now. And I was only going to be here for a year. This is what needed to happen right now for us to not lose one of our properties. And that became, you know, so Jana, right, what you're saying, like out of the challenges, but God ordained. Because when I look at my kids are 11 and 9, and they don't know me as anyone else than someone who's with them all the time. Okay. And I did not know, because, you know, I'm a high achiever, and I came out of a high achieving home, you know, so career is important to me. If someone had told me I would be at home, working from home and homeschooling my kids, if someone told me that before, I'd be like, you're absolutely crazy. There's no way. Like, I'm going to be in this, and I'm going to have the office, and I'm going to do this. And, you know, like that was the life I thought. But when I look now, really my steps have been ordered, because the thing I'm most passionate about is raising my children, and I get to raise them, like be with them all the time. So it's really about the steps being ordered, and knowing that in that moment, whatever causes it, you know, your sickness, Lechelle or Jewel, with you and your husband getting to that point, or whatever it is, it's ordered.
That's right. Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm going to segue into this part, because I know I'm feeling that already we might stay here for a long time because it's so good. But we want to thank you guys. First of all, you're very genuine, and definitely the wisdom that's coming through. So the benefits of ownership. So now you're a woman in business for yourself. What are the benefits of being or having your own business? Because I think a lot of times people try to discourage folk talking about the downside. We'll get to that. We're going to talk about the downside, but what are the benefits for you? And I think that Teka made a good segue into her being able to have this flexible lifestyle where she's at home and she works from home. What are the benefits of you being your owner of your own business? Lechelle, you're muted.
Sorry. I think first and foremost, it's yours. It's yours. No one can take that from you. It's yours. I mean, if you build that thing from the ground up, you look back, like I said, over my portfolio. Instagram for me is a great way to look back over all of my work. If you look at the first picture I ever posted of a cupcake, the piping was flat. It didn't even stand up. It just slid off the top of the cupcake. And now if you look at the cupcakes that I do, like the things that you could pile on top of a cupcake are infinite. So I think the benefit of ownership is just knowing that it's yours, knowing you can say no when you want to say no. You can say yes when you want to say yes. And the flexibility, like Dr. Teka Ann mentioned, I have not had the opportunity to have children yet, but when I do, I look forward to being able to teach them baking. And if they are interested, I can pass my business to my child. That's the other benefit of ownership. If you'd like, they can walk right into a whole clientele list that most people would have to start from scratch with. So it's a beautiful thing, I think, you know, having your own business. I definitely encourage any and everyone to start their own, even if it's as small as YouTube, and you have a message to share on YouTube or just your daily life, and you have a great personality, start. It can't hurt.
Very true. That's very true. I'll say the flexibility for sure. That's probably what has kept me here as an entrepreneur, is the flexibility. But I also love the lessons I learned from entrepreneurship, from not like from studying it, okay? Because I didn't go to school for anything in business, right? But the lessons that I learned as an entrepreneur and who I've become in the process. That's my husband's favorite thing about me being an entrepreneur. He says all the time, it's who I've become in the process. Who I've become in the process is definitely a highlight. And then I can pass that on. So there's certain conversations that I didn't grow up having with my mom because she wasn't a full-time entrepreneur that I can have with my children. So I can pass certain things down that are not in their homeschool curriculum, but I can put it in their homeschool curriculum, right? And even if your kids go to traditional school, like being an entrepreneur, there are certain things that they're going to inherit. One of the things that one of my mentors talks about is the difference with working for a goal versus working with a clock, right? So as an entrepreneur, I never work with a clock. I work until the goal is met. And so I can pass that on to my kids. So I do love the intrinsic things that come out of us, and we learn a lot about untapped potential that we have, right, inside of us being an entrepreneur.
For me, like everyone else said, definitely the flexibility. Being able to homeschool my daughter up until 5, it was something that, I really wanted to do. And also just for legacy, to own my own, to know that my daughter has something to look forward to be able to provide for my family and to not rely on someone else to do it, but to know that my husband and I both are blood, sweat, and tears. Like, we're able to do this. And also to look at, when I have an event coming up, to look at it and just to feel proud, to be proud of myself, to look in the mirror and say, you did that. After everything you've been through, you really did that. So for me, it's also the pride to know that I can do the impossible. I can do things that people may be afraid to do, that I can bounce back. So again, it's the flexibility, the legacy, and also the pride.
I have a question that has been kind of here in the side of my ear. And that question is this. Because you have had to fight, your parents fought, you have fought, that has built a certain character in you that has absolutely led to your success. Mm-hmm. So do you believe that, and I'm careful of how I'm saying it, but I need to just say it. Do you believe that your children not having to fight, because that's something that I struggle with too, when you open the fridge and you saw nothing, you open the pantry and you saw nothing, you value food a different way than children who you give everything to, because that's what you fight for, that they won't have to suffer what you went through. But in that, do you also take away an opportunity for them to build that character that you built in having to fight to do what you're doing and to have what you have?
Wow, that's a very good question.
That is a deep question.
It is.
I feel that being that I don't have children, it might be a little easier for me to answer. Both of my parents, like I said, came from the Caribbean, and neither one of them, I would say, were financially well off. They both came to this country and acquired who they are today here. So they worked very hard to be able to provide for me. And I don't want to say a silver spoon, but, I had a really decent upbringing. Anything I wanted, I got. I traveled a lot, but I wouldn't say that took away from my drive. I still looked at my father, who was an entrepreneur, and I would say, when he left Grenada, he did not have, I would say, more than a 6th grade education. Yes, he did his certifications here in the States, but that drive, when I look back over that, and for me to see him as the most successful person in our extended family, and the things that he was able to acquire, like several houses, several vehicles, like the wealth that he was able to amass in that time, during the times where being Black in this country were very difficult. Mm-hmm. I have to give him all the credit that's due. And I have to look at that as something that, drives me forward. Mm-hmm. I can't sit on that and say, okay, well, it's made for me, and just, reach off of that. That's just me. But I feel like that also has a lot to do with how I was raised, what I was told, I still, when I became 16, went out and got a job. I didn't have to. I just wanted to. I wanted to be able to buy the little things for myself. I didn't want to have to go to my parents and ask, because I saw how hard they worked just so that I could have what I wanted, even if I asked for the most outlandish thing, like a pet ferret or something. Mm-hmm. So, I don't think that giving your child everything can hinder them if you're also teaching them the flip side of that, or what you had to go through to give them everything.
Love it. I agree. I think for me, I feel like a lot of times we celebrate the struggle, and I hated it, because the truth is I'm here because of God. Struggle or not, my steps, like Teka was saying, my steps have been ordered. And if I can take away that struggle from my daughter, I'll do it, because I look back now and I wish I didn't go through half of what I went through. And a lot of times, it's like, because of my dark days, because of what I've been through, I am where I am. No, I take that away. Take it away. And if I can do that for my daughter, because I feel like we're raising both my husband and I, we're raising a child, that she will see what we have. She will see and appreciate what she has, but ultimately we're raising her to know that your steps are really ordered by God, regardless of what life throws your way. Whatever plan God has for your life, he will fulfill it regardless. And if we can do anything in our power to take away that struggle, I will do it, because I wish somebody took away mine.
I love that. I love that. You know, yeah, it's so, right now we live in a time where with our children, they are going to have their fight. Like, let's be clear. Like, we are giving them as much as we can, as we should. So it's more about what we place in them and who we raise them to be, because it's not that they're not going to have their fight. It's just that it's going to look different from our parents',
right?
Different from ours. So they are going to have their fight. And what we know more, right? We have more access to more resources, right? We have given them more. And so they have better opportunities. But like, when you think about in 1953, when Mary Kay Ash started her company, for her thing, when she started, it was a place for women, because women didn't work outside of the home. And back then, for every dollar a man made, a woman made 50 cents. We're talking 60 plus years later, and we still have a pay disparity, right? Between women. So our kids are going to have, and I'm big on, listen, give it all to our kids, okay? We fill all the buckets, fill their faith bucket, fill their emotional bucket, fill their financial bucket, fill their educational bucket, fill all of the buckets for our children. Make them, I say, with my kids, I laugh all the time, because I say I'm raising soldiers, because their fight, I was raised in a country where we were all Black. So their fight looks different from mine. They're born in a country where racism is a huge issue, right? When they go to apply for a job or they apply for a school, it's not just like when I went to in Jamaica to apply for a school. It's not the same. So it really is pouring everything we have into them without resistance. Like I am totally against withholding anything, because we feel like we want to make them have a little struggle. They are going to have their struggle. It's going to come. So pour everything we can into them and equip them, folks. So whatever struggle they have when it comes, and we see now social media. Come on, guys, like social media, social media and our children,
right?
They will have their struggle. So just pour it all into them.
And I think that's the key, because the key isn't take away the fight. The key is teach them how to.
Right. Give them the tools.
Give them the tools, because they will have to fight.
Right.
Our fight may have been hunger. Their fight may be something else. But what we can't take away is teaching them the tools that they know they have to work hard. They know they have to give it all. They know that what it means to overcome, no matter what the fight is. So my question was along those lines. It's not just giving them everything and not teaching them. And I love the way you answered. And that's why I think this is so important, because I know there are women watching the Pink Room right now who have heard from their families. Either you're raising them, you're too soft. You're too soft. You're giving them everything. There's those. I know there are there. So if you have the ability to give, why would you not?
Right.
That's one side.
Right.
But also the other side of don't worry, and don't even teach them the value of courage, the value of hard work, the value of resilience. Whatever thing you have, do your best at it. So that balance. So for those who are listening to us, who are hearing either side of this conversation, seeing 3 celebrities, like Shonda said, that are living it, and that's important. The ability to relate.
Right.
We're not talking to someone who's so far removed from our reality that we can say, oh yeah, but that's them. That could never be me.
Exactly. So I want to share some comments and a question before we go into the next segment. But here's Esther Cross. She says, in building legacy, one is moving forward. What helped to build character as a result of struggle can be taught to our children in different ways, as long as parents are aware of the characteristics they want to teach. Teaching awareness is key. I think it's kind of like a summary of what was said here, right? What are we teaching them? We're not taking away, but what are we teaching them? Denise Miller asks this question: would you have the resilience that you have without your struggle?
It's a good one. It's a good one. It builds us. The struggle builds us, and it reveals pieces of us that we had no idea existed. Right? The struggle brings out things in us that, I mean, you know, they say you never, what do they say, that you don't know how strong you are until being strong is your only option, right? You know, I've had wild, Dr. Petticoat knows, I've had wild, crazy life experiences that if someone told me I would still be standing after them, I would not have believed, right? But the resilience and it builds you for the next one, because it's never over, right? There's always going to be something else to come. It builds you for the next experience and for the next experience. So no, the resilience does not come out without the struggle.
You know, it's interesting because all three of you show amazing courage and strength. Here we have Jewel talking about losing everything at the point of saying, that's it, it's done. Lechelle talking about being so ill and her mother sacrificed it. All of you had to pull out a level of strength that perhaps you thought you did not have to be able to push you on to the next level. Very interesting. Glenda says the children must have to fight to continue the legacy to pass on to their generations and keep it going. The values remain the same in the children, in raising children. We need to teach them how to engage the struggles, because as it was said here, they will have struggles, maybe different from ours, but how do they face these struggles? So let's go to the downside. So we don't only want you to share the downside, but how did you overcome it, right? So maybe think about one of your lowest points in business, right? I don't know what it could have been. Maybe you lost everything, you were bankrupt. How did you overcome that?
For me, I would say one of my lowest points in business, I started out doing smaller items. So like cupcakes, cake pops, you know, things of that nature. And I swore I would never do cakes because I just thought it was too much liability. It could collapse. What if they come and they get it and something happens as soon as they step off my step? I was just terrified of the idea. But then I started making these cakes, and I made a 3-tier cake for the first time, and I was very apprehensive doing it. And I guess your mindset has a lot to do with what you produce. So I delivered the cake to the client, and by the time I looked at the cake myself at the client's house, it was already gone. There was nothing I could do, and all this money had been spent. And I got back in the car, I called my parents, and had a major breakdown. I'm like, I don't know what to do. This is so embarrassing. What should I do? But, you know, they gave me that good old pep talk and said, you have to own it. Go in, tell them what happened, and you refund them their money. As sad as it is, but that it's the day of the event, but that's what's going to have to happen. So I did that, and I was very concerned about my reputation. You know, this has never happened before. What if they, you know, go out there and they make all these bad comments on, you know, social media? But that was nothing to worry about because of the customer service that I was able to apply with that. You know, I was extremely apologetic and, you know, very sincere about where I was coming from. And again, I refunded the money on the spot. Not to say that these types of things can't happen in the future, but there's always room for error when you're running a business or doing anything. So it's just how you handle that. How put yourself in the opposing character's shoes. Like as the customer, how would you like for someone to deal with you in that very same situation? And I think looking at the situation from that point of view will get you a better outcome overall than just saying, well, I have to now give back all this money. And what about all these hours I spent on this project? You know, it's the better thing to do. Because in the long term, that customer might still come back just solely because of the customer service, although they had a very bad cake. So,
yeah. And I guess it's the way you handle that too afterwards, right? That made the difference.
Yeah. Very true. For me, one of the things that with entrepreneurship, one of the downsides is it's up to you. It's a good thing, but it's a bad thing, right? It's up to you. And so we set goals, like all entrepreneurs do. We set goals, and in my platform, in my business, my goals are, I have personal goals, and then I have goals for my organization. And so there are other people's dreams that are attached to mine. And because of that, it can be pretty rough when you don't hit the goal, because sometimes when you don't hit the goal, it completely takes other people off the track of their goal. Wow. And I remember one time we were running for a really large goal. We didn't hit it. And it was very painful. It was very painful. I mean, like, it was very painful. Okay. Let me tell you. Okay. But I had to just take a breather, and the mind. It's the mind. The pain I feel was not physical. Nothing on my body was hurt. My mind was hurt and my emotions were hurt. And I had to pick myself up, because I am leading people. And if I don't get up, they don't get up, right? And it took me just taking time away from the scoreboard, taking time away from the set goals, and just feeding my mind with, I mean, like the books and the audios or the YouTubes, or I mean, whatever. I tell my consultants all the time. I say, listen, find whatever moves you and abuse it. And I have to get to that place of abusing the things that moved me, because I was in a rut. But I said I was in a rut. And so I had to just pour on, like, overuse all the media sources and all the books to read and everything to pull myself up. Because the truth is, I didn't at the time have the personal strength to pull myself up. I didn't have it. So I had to, I say, all these mentors, people who you don't know, like you don't even know them, but you listen to them and you read them all the time. I had to pull on their strength to pull myself out of the ruts.
I love that, Teka. Kind of goes well with what we were talking about earlier with self-care. And I think that sometimes people feel that you read books and you watch videos and you do training, whatever, it's just for self-growth. Not necessarily. There is an empowerment that comes from, I like that term, abusing those energies to pick you up. And I like that you're giving permission to our audience to see that, listen, if that person's video, voice, story is the thing that's going to get you up and do what you, then go for it. Listen to it. If that song is the song that you need to hear every morning to get, then play it on, play it on a loop. So we need to find these, we need to get our own tools. We have our own resource box to get us up. So Jewel, share yours with us.
I think being in the fashion industry and also being a caterer, we've, both my husband and I have experienced some really hard times. We've had, I remember one specific event, it was a large event, and, there were a lot of people there, and, we prepared. And if you know my husband, he's such a hard worker. We prepared every single thing. When we got there, some of the food spoiled. And we were just trying to figure out, like, what's going to happen. And it took weeks before my husband bounced back, because I know how hard he worked. I know how hard he is on himself. I know how hard I am on him. And, we had to just take some time out to say, you know what, acknowledge that, even though it's not our fault, it happened. You know what I mean? Like, how can we, moving forward, what can we do to avoid this from happening again? And being honest, being brutally honest with yourself, with your business partner, like, what can you do? This happened. The fact that we're in a world of social media, people can post things, people can, reach out to everybody else. It's out there, and dealing with the aftermath of when something flops, you know what I mean? But the truth is, you recover, like with everything else. We have been in situations where, we've gone to restaurants and we've gotten bad service. So it happens. Being honest and saying it happens, now move on. How can we move on better and stronger? Even with Jules Vintage Closet, just this week, I've had a client reach out and it's like, my package came and the package was ripped. And in my head, I'm just like, I can't control UPS, but I got you. Thank you. But just owning it, even when you are not wrong, just owning it. And it's hard to be on the receiving end when you put everything into your product and then you get reviews that aren't great. It's really hard, and it sucks sometimes, but the truth is it happens. So you just have to be strong and figure out how to make things better moving forward.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And if you're watching, please make sure that some other woman in your life is also watching this. I hope you're screening it on your TV, you're casting it on your TV, you have shared it all over. There is so much wisdom that has been shared here. Even if you're not interested in business, just for life itself, right? There's always hope. We will fall, but we know we can get up back again, right? Such important truisms that are shared here today. Again, we apologize if you're on YouTube. Unfortunately, the live chat on YouTube is not working for this particular show. You can come on Facebook and your comments will be screened, or if not, just stay right there, YouTube, screen it on and just enjoy it. And you may also post your comments, but it would not be on a live chat. Yes.
It's being recorded, right?
Of course it is.
So just a reminder to everyone that you can go back and watch it again, and you can ping your friends who need to see it so they can watch it for the first time. It's going to be there.
I'm going to read. Thank you for that, Tricia. And we encourage you to do that. Not only with this one show, there are other shows where such great wisdom was shared that would be good. We have a comment here from Giasi Haynes. Says, in regard to raising children and creating their own resilience, it is important. Oh, you know him, Teka?
Did you see that dance? Did you see the dance?
I'm like, wait.
Did you?
Okay. It's important that we got you. It is important that we pour into them practical life lessons and share our story in a teaching way. What we leave in them will always be greater than what is given to them. That is so powerful. Indeed. Glenda Nicholas is telling us, don't worry, ladies, it's on my TV and a few people are watching too. Thank you, Glenda. And hello to all the people that are watching it with you too. Let's go to our next. I don't know, Sean, Teresa, did you have something to say before we move on to our next segment? Okay. So best moments in business. Like, what moment was that? Like, yes, I love it. I've arrived, or this is what I want it to be all the time. What's your best moment in business? Can you share that with us?
Ooh, I've had a lot because of the structure of my business. I get to have these best moments at least 3 times a year, right? And that's when you hit the goal. that I would say the best moment is when you hit the goal, and the energy it gives when you set the next goal. For us right now, we're right at the end of 2021, and so at the beginning of each year we make our vision boards. And so right now I'm in one of those best moments as I look at my vision board and seeing all the things crossed off that I set earlier in the year, and seeing them just crossed off and seeing so the best moments, I'd say, when you hit the goal, when you see the vision come to life. Because a lot of times when we set the goals and we write the vision in the beginning, literally we don't feel equipped for them. Like most times as entrepreneurs, when we set the goal and the vision, we don't feel like it wouldn't be the vision or the goal if it's something we've done before, right?
Exactly.
It's always something new.
Right.
So best moments is when that comes to fruition.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with Dr. Teka and Hayes. I feel like when I get an order for a new trend or cake or something, and it's like, oh Lord, I've never tried that yet, or it looks really tedious or hard to accomplish. And then the client comes to pick up and they're like extremely wowed by the fact that I was able to execute spot on what they wanted, or even better, and their jaws are on the floor. That for me is the best and most gratifying moment. It's like, yes. So for me, that's the best moment in business.
Absolutely.
For me, one of the best moments in our catering business, earlier this year, we catered a wedding for 2 young adults. They've never tried our food, and they were like, we're catering to 200 people. We want you guys to be there. And we're like, okay. And literally at the end of that event, everybody They kept saying, this is not traditional wedding food. It's the best food that we've ever had. Our staff was on point. Everything looked good. It was professional, because we pride ourselves in providing food that not only tastes good, but it looks good, because you want to see something looking good before you have it. So I think that was one of the best moments. And also when we catered to Method Man, it was amazing, because he is everything. I know some of my Christian friends may not be familiar with him, but he was a celebrity. But yeah, so that was, a major moment, and it was really awesome. And also a recent moment for me, I had a live, and I had set a financial goal, and I doubled that. So that was a really good moment.
Awesome. So
You know what? We've mentioned threads. One thread that I see is pride in your work.
Yeah.
I see all three of you talking about pride in your work. And it's not just about the job, the money, but in seeing that what you're doing, you're proud of.
Right.
And that can be translated to any scenario. It should be, right?
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. So we want to go to this segment now. Your cheerleading squad or your practice. What do you do? And we kind of touched on that before, the abusing those energies and those things that pick us up. Who is your cheerleading squad? Who are those people around you that say, hey, you can do this? Or what are some routines or practices or ceremonies, rituals that you do to just make sure that you are on that high to be able to produce service in the best way possible?
I pulled up my pom pom for this one.
I love it.
And it's pink. Pink.
Love it. The cheerleading squad. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love that question. My cheerleading squad. Of course, I'm married to my biggest cheerleader, and I birthed I birthed two of my next biggest cheerleaders, and I adopted one of my next biggest cheerleaders. So I have a 21-year-old son who is a third year college student. Oh my gosh, the time has gone by so fast. And then my two little ones, my 11-year-old and my 9-year-old, and my husband. Definite cheering squad. Definite people who are always with a pom pom, telling me I can do things even when I don't think I can do them. And then of course my team in Mary Kay is, let me tell you, these women, they believe. When I say they believe, their belief is huge. They always believe we can do the next big thing, or things that sometimes I don't even process. They bring the ideas in, and teamwork makes the dream work, right? That's what we always say. Teamwork makes the dream work. So I have a lot of cheerleaders there. But practices, my mornings, my days are very, very, very packed. And so because of that, my early mornings are my Teka Ann time. And I'm religious with it. I'm unapologetic with it. I am very serious with it. I'm committed. My prayer time, my meditation time, my fitness routine. You can always, at any point, you can see me. I'm listening to a book, or I'm listening to a motivational audio. I'm always reading something. My morning time is when I fill my cup. And I'm big on self-care. So a self-care Sundays are a big part of my time. My family knows when they see me put my mask on and I put my hydrogen eye patches on. Don't talk to me. Don't look at me. This is me filling my cup. Okay, leave me alone. Your kids don't know how to leave you, especially when you go in the bathroom. My kids know when my self-care Sunday time comes. Don't even come in the bathroom. Okay, this is my time. Let me fill my cup. Okay, so that's self-care and just daily taking. And it doesn't have to be 2 hours. It really could just be 5 minutes. Like, just take some time and do something to pour into you. Like I say, find what moves you and abuse it. Pull into you. Just do something to go into you, and so you can pour out.
And we see your cheerleading squad here. I love it.
The man I'm married to, I love you to pieces, baby.
For me, my cheerleading squad consists of Ryan, my husband, my daughter, my 5-year-old Mackenzie Ray, and my mom. Mackenzie Ray, every time I have an event, she usually would write a note, God help mommy to do good with JVC. And Like it's honestly the best. And I have a group of core friends and who I call my sisters. They always hold me down, always send me encouraging messages. One of my sisters, Akila, she's always literally, you got it, girl. What do you need me to help you with? And all my circle of friends, they believe in my vision. My best friend Danielle, she's like, you're not new to this, you're true to this. Tell everybody else you got it. She's always in my head. My friend Janelle, like my circle of people, like they're solid, and I thank God for them. But definitely my core, it's definitely my husband, my daughter, and my mom.
Nice. There go these threads again, because mine is definitely my family. I have to say, my parents are by far my biggest cheerleading squad and support system. They make sure I get it done, even when I don't want to do it at all. They pick me up by my bootstraps and say, let's go. So they by far are definitely my cheerleading squad.
Nice. Shonda, you wanted to say something?
No, I just love this thread. This womanhood, this familyhood. Yeah, it's just it's weaving a pattern in my thought process.
Right. And I think the power here is that your family is cheering you on, right? Not questioning. They already see you got the talent, you have it. What is it that they say? You're not new to this, you're true to this. So they understand their role to be to make sure that you get through this.
Yes.
Right? They're there pushing forward, cheering on. I think that's such a powerful thing. So we're in our last segment, and in our last segment, we want you perhaps to share with us something that a recap or something that you want us to take away from your experience or from what was said today, that you would like to leave the positive, that little seed that you want to plant. And hey, out of everything that we've heard or shared or what I have experienced, this I want to leave with you as a takeaway.
Okay, I can go first. Definitely trust that where you are at any given time, your steps are ordered. God honors the chase. I will go to my grave saying that he honors the chase. So when I started my business, my mentor told me, she said, God does not give you a dream or a vision without the ability or the resources to make it come true. And so whatever it is that is in, and it may not be entrepreneurship, right? It may not be entrepreneurship, but wherever you are planted right now, wherever you are right now, just trust that that's exactly where you should be, and know that God's got you. Win, flourish, inspire, be the best to you, exactly where you are right now.
Powerful.
What I would like to leave with people is be true to yourself, be true to the calling that God has on your life. And plan, literally write it down. Like one of my favorite Bible verses says, write the vision, make it plain upon tables. Literally write it down, because sometimes we don't see things because one, we don't write it down. We don't believe in it. And literally going through my journal and seeing the things that I wrote down at the beginning of the year and to see where I am now, it's really all God. And also do your research in whatever field that you decide to venture into. Do your research, financially plan for it, because there will be times, especially in your first few years of business, it would be rough. It would be hard, but it's possible. You know what I mean? Just prepare yourself for what is to come and stay true to the plans that God has for your life. That's really it.
Yeah. For me, I would have to say, listen. God says, be still and you shall hear me. So I think if I never listened to my family and friends when they said, start selling this, I see something in you that you're not seeing yet. I could never have gotten where I am today. So I think listening is a big part that I would tell any and everyone to hone in on, and try to be still at times and listen.
Wow. So before we invite the ladies into the green room, we want to do what we always do. We want to affirm you for taking the time and being here today. So Sean and Tricia, take it away.
Wow. I'm just going to call you Celebrity 3. Just having a little fun on. not only was this fun, but I thank each of you for being so authentic, so vulnerable, so real, hence for real women in the pink room, and just sharing with us, bits of information that I think we all can relate to. And even if we don't have businesses, there's just been some experience. So for all of you, the hard work you put in to be successful businesswomen, wishing you all the best. Thank you for taking the time. We greatly appreciate this moment that we had to spend with each of you.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for your generosity. Your generosity in sharing your stories, the tips, being so vulnerable in sharing these things that are so deeply personal that sometimes when you have an image to portray, you don't want everybody to know, that's on one end, and on another end, you may not want everybody to know the secrets to success. And that has not been the case today. All three of you have been so generous in sharing not only your time with us, but your stories and the struggles of your family. And we have been able to see in real life the support of your family and what it means. The little dance that Tika Ann made and the light in her eyes when she saw who made the comment is real. And I believe that that is what I most appreciated about this time that you have all spent with us. I already enjoy Tika Ann's hand in my life with makeup for the past 11 years. I plan to reach out to Jewel because I love fashion. And I will buy some. I've heard so much about these cupcakes. I need to get.
Thank you.
So thank you, all three of you, so much for being in the Pink Room Live today.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
And I want to join the co-hostesses of the Pink Room. I want to go one by one. So let me start with Lechelle. I think she's the baby of Lechelle on the download was also my student, extremely bright, on point, always on point. Showed up in the classroom, on point all the time. And to see, and it's interesting. I did not know she had a business until I went to an event that her mother pointed out to me. Oh, you like that cake? That's Lechelle. I'm like, what? Lechelle made this cake. It was like, I was just like, wow, blown away by it. But to see your journey, right? To see that you went to school for one thing, then ended up realizing that you had this talent and the sacrifice of your parents. Such a beautiful combination to the product of who you've become and who now I understand you to be. I want to thank you for sharing all of that with us. I think that many young women in the days to come, if they watch this, they will be inspired by that story, because oftentimes people see these things as deterrents in your life and not necessarily as escalators.
Yes.
Other levels. So we thank you so much for sharing that. And Jewel, oh my goodness, Jewel is my little sister. Well, my little daughter. Jewel's my daughter. There was a time people would look at Jewel, and I never understood how they could get this mixed up. But they'll be like, "Are you Norca Blackman Richard?" She's like, "No, I'm Jewel Jordan."
Yeah.
I don't know. We don't know why they mixed it up, but that was happening for a time there. Incredible talent. The food you have to taste. Her husband is really a good chef. He has hosted. They have catered events for real women. Shonda might remember when we used to have the Voices of Women. Amazing stuff. We were never disappointed. Professional. I mean, and these are young people, starting out professional. The food always on point. People always wanted to know who they were. And Jewel's Vintage Closet, I've had a couple of pieces from it. I need to get some more because at this age we need to wear more color. So it's fantastic. Jewel, I love everything you stand for. I like that you are so grounded. That is so hard to find. You're so grounded and you understand why you are where you are, and you're able to share it with no qualms, no ifs and buts. So we appreciate that, definitely. You brought that to the room. And Dr. Teka Ann, oh my goodness, my new BFF. Amazing. I love your energy.
I'm not sure I want to share her with you.
Too bad. It's out of
that aspect.
Please, it's out of the bag. She and I see eye to energy at this level. I love it, love it, love it.
And Norca, she has been a Pink Room Live follower day
That is true.
one.
I remember that name. Yes, all the time. And
Day one, loyal. Always.
Thank you so much, Dr. Teka Ann. But thank you for bringing your authentic selves to the space, your energy, the wisdom. All three of you, the wisdom to the space. I mean, I am going to rewatch this again. I'm going to share with a couple of people that I know need to watch this, because you gave of yourself, and Tricia and Shonda said that you gave of yourselves freely. You did not hold back. You did not think I need to, let me butter this up a little bit. You gave it freely. And that is worth much more than anything. I'm just going to screen some quick comments here so you can see how everyone is just amazed and everyone has been blessed by this. Thank you, ladies, so much for sharing your wisdom and your utter transparency. Write the vision, make it plain. When you write it into existence, you see it every day. I think this is June. I think this is Kim's sister. Beautiful words of wisdom, ladies. Another one. Thank you, ladies. Always a wealth of inspiration and information. Support from your family is key. Great conversation. Arlene, which is another fan.
Yes.
On the show. Such inspirational stories, ladies. Thank you so much for sharing. Beautiful stuff here. We want to thank you. And yes, people want to know about R&J's cuisine. Yes, they anything here. Tikan, we gotta make a Zoom thing for the face thing and all of that.
I've been saying.
Yes. Yeah, that might be a pink room too. Like tell everyone this is what you need to get next pink room. We come and we do what we gotta do. You never know.
Self-care Sunday.
Yes, Sunday. That's gonna be the new one. Love it very much. Ladies, we're going to put you in the green room as we just end for the next 5 minutes and we meet you in the green room. Thank you again for being
for
here.
Us there.
Yes, and for bringing your full self to the space. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Shonda, take it away. Time is yours.
Pink Room, you all had a good evening with us or day wherever you are watching this, I'm sure. And so now when we look at our community care list, if you think back from the beginning, especially when I brought the story about women in a world with Ilhan going through all that she's gone through, I'm sure that there's been moments in her life as well as many of ours. And you saw with our Celebrity 3 on the Pink Room that there are times when it is okay not to be okay. This may not be popular. You may have heard otherwise, that you put on the mask, you show up, you look good. Yes, that is wonderful, but beneath all of that, you also have to push that pause button, because when you push pause on any device, it stops it in the moment and acknowledge just that this is not good. I don't feel good. Because sometimes when we push that feeling away, it puts us into a further cesspool of just negative thoughts. It distracts us from being the people we ought to be in life, successful or just thriving in whatever avenue it is. So when you pause to know that it's okay not to be okay, acknowledge that moment. It is what it is. And sometimes it's in those moments that you can learn to move forward. So no matter what people tell you, don't beat yourself up, all of the above. You might beat yourself up occasionally, but know that in that moment, it's okay not to be okay, and know that moving forward, the opportunity to be okay is coming right behind it.
Thank you so much, Shonda. And we're just going to say goodbye by sharing with you 2 very important events that we're having. We have extended the Pink Room to Clubhouse. So on the days, whenever there are serious issues that we want to grapple with that have come our way, or there are particular women who approach us and say, hey, we would like you to talk about this topic, we are going to do the extension of that on the Clubhouse, which is just an audio app. So we invite you to download the Clubhouse app. Previously, it was only for if you had an iPhone. Now, if you have an Android, it works very well. You look for Pink Room Extended. You can click into it, become a member, reserve your seat. On the 12th of December, we're having a very important topic: recognizing and addressing sexual abuse and violence in communities of faith. in communities of faith. So we want to tackle that issue of people go to churches, people are in congregations, and many times it's like, oh, we're all going to heaven, but there are broken people in there, or there's brokenness occurring in there, right? How do we recognize it? How do we address it? And we have Sarah McDougall, which was with us. If you go on the Clubhouse and go on the Pink Room Extended, there is a replay from a previous recording we had last Sunday, ladies?
Yes, last Sunday.
Last Sunday. It is phenomenal. Men and women, it is phenomenal. We had over 200 persons come on, listen to it. People have been listening to the replay since that day. I mean, just the wealth of wisdom, but also the transparency, women sharing their stories. So we have Sarah McDougall is going to come on. She's an author, speaker, trainer. She's the founder of Wilderness to Wild. Amazing woman with amazing strategies. She's going to talk about looking and recognizing that on adult women. Then we have Judelia Medar Santiesteban. She is an author, has written 2 books for children. How do you recognize this in children, both male and female? So join us. Even if you're male, join also. Then we have Datrian Pelagi, who's going to address the recognition of it and addressing it for young women, young men. So we invite you to come on the Clubhouse. You can be it's just audio. You can just decide to listen, or you might ask us to come on stage if you want to share. And then our next Pink Room, and I think that's the final Pink Room for 2021. Woo-hoo. Go into, I know, 2022 is right.
Unbelievable.
Arlene. Listen, we got to give Arlene a prize. Arlene is on it. Download it. She's ready.
Yes.
Thank you, Arlene. Thank you. Yes, this is something that was requested of us lately. And we are trying to service we're trying to service our community group. Women have come forward saying to us that they needed to have this conversation. We're trying to do our best to fill that need. And on the 18th, Tricia is going to explain why this topic is important, because she did it the last time and she did it fantastically well. The topic is define the single story about Africa. And we're inviting Ikpomunsa Omoruyi from Nigeria and Nazira Idrisu from Ghana. So why is this topic important again, Dr. P?
Was it when I said that Africa is not a country? That I was tired of hearing people say I came from the country of Africa where I went from for vacation. So it's not just, all jokes aside, there is so much of ourselves that comes from our history that we do not even recognize until we hear it and it sounds familiar. So if we are only listening to the story of Africa from the mouths of the conquerors and the ones that have dilapidated and taken away from it, then we do not have the right platform and context to see the pride and joy of coming from where we come from. So that is why we believe this topic is important.
She said it. She said that. She said that. We're out. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be seeing you either on Pink Room Extended on Clubhouse, or we'll see you back here on the 18th.
Or both.
Oh. Peace out, everyone. Thank you very, very much. Have a good night.
And we'll see you next time in the Pink Room.
The Pink Room is a produced resource of For Real Women International, Inc., a non-profit organization with headquarters in New York and affiliates in the United States, Latin America, and the Caribbean. The views expressed here by hostesses and guests do not necessarily represent the philosophy of For Real Women International, its affiliates, members, and board of directors.